All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome aboard to the Morning Note. My name is Carlos Garcia, founder and CEO of GAR Capital. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to join me this morning and every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the YouTube channel. Bottom right-hand corner of your screen, a little black logo. Click on that. Turn on notifications. Subscribe to our channel. Make sure to hit that like button if you like these videos. Appreciate it as always. Let's go ahead and get to work. Let's get over to TOS just to get started. Here we are. All right, Dow futures up 308 points. Nasdaq is slightly red, 0.20%. How about S&P 500 up 0.27%? Even with the Meta meltdown, Mark Zuckerberg is on the call on CNBC. Quote: "Those who are patient will be rewarded." Let's go ahead and bring up Meta stock. It is down about 23% this morning, right at $100. Actually, it's down 30% this morning from 129.82 to $100. There you go. And as a shareholder, it does not feel good whatsoever. Crude oil up 1.40%, now at $89 a barrel. Gasoline futures up 0.86%, $2.59 a gallon. Let's look at that 10-year yield, 40.24. That's 4.0%. Still kind of holding strong to that level. We'll bring up TNX here. Holding that 50 MA on the hourly. If we bring up the daily, we'll go ahead. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's make life easy. Let's start expanding, and then we can start doing everything. 10-year yields right at the 100 MA on the hourly. If we bring up the daily, you have the 20 MA on the daily. If we break below that, that's a pretty strong indicator. We talked about the 20 a lot on the daily. So again, we know why that's important to us. We usually trade on the hourly, and that's a 20-day chart. 20-day moving average really gives us a little bit more of an insight on the momentum. So again, you can see 10-year yields still hovering above 4%. Let's go and bring up the dollar today. Dollar and yields, I know, kind of same old, same old. How about testing that trend line pretty nicely? Let's bring up the weekly. You could see it pretty much wicked off 109.55 right off that 110 level. Let's see if we could finally break it down. If we expand it a little more, you guys remember this extension of this fib, the 161.8, hits it to the nose, comes back down. Now we're testing this key trend line that we've had on the weekly. So again, the dollar coming down is nice. At least equities are up even with the dollar higher. So that shows a little more resiliency, kind of helping the bullish narrative, which is nice. Let's bring up the volatility index. Volatility index will bring up the daily, and you can see we are now below the 50 MA, 50 daily moving average on volatility index. Right now, 2644 is that 200-100 cross. Let's see if we can get below that. We'll place an alert. If we can cross below that, we should accelerate more down to test 224, which is the bottom end of that trend line. So keep an eye on VIX. We're getting close to some key moving averages. Let's look at gold down 0.42% on a stronger dollar. Silver down 0.29%. Copper down 0.61 this morning. How about euro dollar? Exactly at parity. They raised interest rates 75 basis points this morning. Dollar yen 146.56. Not too crazy, only up 20 pips. Pound dollar down 65 pips, 115.62. Bitcoin futures pretty flat, 20,735. Yet Ethereum is up 0.22%, 1570. Ethereum is kind of a higher beta Bitcoin in a sense, so it tends to move a little more protruded, let's just say, than Bitcoin itself. So that's kind of around the horn what we got in terms of macro. Let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room, that is Meta. So Meta, we are trading at 99.81. Do you want to hold this? That's really the question. If you're invested in it, fine. You're here where you're here where you are. We've broken down major support, guys, on the weekly, pretty much on all time frames. So the real question is, do you want to hold this or not? And it's going to get very difficult to start justifying the shareholder loss of such a mega cap company. Two things. If you have an ETF, the good news is that with the weights like a SPY-G, it's only about 1% of the index, so it's not too bad. But again, if you own the stock itself like I do, you're going to have to start making decisions. Are we willing to just hold this with the turnaround, like a turnaround story, buy the dip or so maybe, or you just want to cut it off and say it's over. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm not into the metaverse. So again, that's something for every investor. Where I'm at now, I mean, the only thing I could see as part of some kind of glimmer of hope, if some kind of good news possibly in the future, is that we'll probably get a hedge fund or some big money manager who's going to want to take over Facebook and start moving things in the right direction, at least for the share, at least for the stock. It's happened many times throughout mega cap stocks. People like a Bill Ackman, a corporate raider, all these other guys that do corporate rating, where they'll start quietly getting a stake in the company, which boosts the stock. And then, of course, they start coming down the hammer with, lay off people, do this, do that, because they have shareholder approval, and also they'll have seats on the board. Problem is that Zuckerberg holds majority seats on the board, so we don't think that he's going to go ahead and give control for any kind, but at least on a technical basis, it's broken. I mean, the only support you have on a multi-year level is maybe 91. I mean, you're down this far. The question is, do you need the money? Do you believe in this company to turn around? They make money. The question is, they burn a lot too. They're a cash incinerator. Even Netflix turned it around with their cash burn. But Meta, I mean, could it be clearer skies in the future? Possibly. Are you willing to hold the stock while it goes through this transition period? Many people might not. So again, if you're looking to buy the stock, bottom line, 3-day rule in effect, just like Google, just like Microsoft, 3-day rule. Day one is over. Now we're getting into day one for Meta. I did the same with this target bottom that we had, and look at the target move that we had. If you guys remember, this was pretty recently. We had that big drop here. I waited for the 3-day rule, and then I bought, and now I'm up. So again, that's just kind of what I do in terms of huge volatile swings. If you are looking to bottom feed on Netflix, on Meta, give yourself 3 days, see where we round out at. Again, I wouldn't want to buy it today. We could accelerate lower, we could accelerate higher. Again, I think a 3-day rule is the best bet. Again, I'm going to read a little more on the conference call today. I didn't do it last night because I was at Halloween Horror Nights in Universal, which was actually kind of cool. So it's different this year. I went last year, you had to wear masks. They couldn't really touch you or anything. This year, they're right in your face. It was really, really cool. So if you guys are interested in that, that's at Universal Studios in Orlando. It was really, really cool. I hope everyone enjoys it if they go. So that's where we are on Meta. This past week, we did trade JPM, Qs. Gosh, what else did we trade? Let me go ahead and bring up Discord. We did catch with Masterclass. We did catch that Disney trade. We'll put a reel up or something. We closed out MU calls for minus 24%. We caught Citibank, that sword. We caught Disney, which was very nice. That was for our Masterclass members. And we had JPM yesterday, which was pretty slow, but we caught that. Pretty decent week so far. I mean, we've had some swings here and there, at least intraday. So it's no need to just rush into anything. It's been a very, very solid month. Last 4 weeks of trading. We want to keep that in focus. I still have the bullish narrative. Obviously, you know where I stand. Pretty resilient. Look at that. Even with Meta down, Nasdaq's only down 0.18%. GDP beat, guys. GDP did beat. The number on GDP, if I can bring it up. Let's go here. GDP accelerated 2.6% in Q3. How about jobless claims? Still 217,000, still below estimates. So very, very nice. Look at consumption up 1.4% on GDP. Those are some good news. Again, we have priced in pretty much everything, the worst case scenarios. Now we've had Google, Microsoft, and Meta tank after their earnings. And yet we're still holding up near the highs. Let's say, we're 40 points away from the most recent highs at 3,900. Now that 3,900 rejection is completely, that's completely normal in my opinion. I even said that on the blog that we had yesterday. Again, that 3,900 level is right there. That's the Fibonacci retracement, the 786. We reject it. We're right near the 50-day MA. Again, we talked about that being a key level. What I want to add is some risk here. I mean, not yet, not at the open. But again, if something is on my watch list, look at AMD, guys. AMD is doing very well. How about IWM? IWM didn't break my level, but look at AMD. Maybe a break of 62. We could start looking at going into the 65s for next week. They do have earnings next week, mind you, so those premiums might be a little juiced. But if you want to catch it for a quick turnaround this week, maybe ahead of the Apple earnings, 64s wouldn't be a bad idea. Take a look at AMD. That'd be something that I'm watching with a break of 62. How about NVIDIA on the hourly, breaking out? Let's take a look at the daily. How about that 50-day MA right there, 137? Not a bad target if you're looking for next week. Maybe take a look at, okay, we're trading at 138. Which was this level? 137. Oh, we're actually about to break that. So let's go ahead and place an alert here at 137.21. That'll break it. There is a gap to fill at 142. We may have missed that boat, but there is another gap to fill at 149. I would wait for this gap fill first since it's really, really close. That's 141.61, but I do expect NVIDIA to go higher. I think AMD is probably the better play. So AMD break up to 62. I would go ahead and take a look at those 64, 65s for next week. If you want to trade it for this week, get out of it today ahead of the Apple earnings. We don't know what might happen. Taking a look at Apple earnings this morning. I mean, taking a look at Apple stock this morning, we're trading at 148. We're right on top of that fib, 38.2 fib at 149.63. We got overhead resistance at 151. The question is, red or black? I mean, tough to say. I mean, because you have Amazon coming out today, Google, Microsoft disappointed, even though Microsoft had an okay earnings. Google, deceleration on ad spend. Facebook, again, more cash burn. I need to deep dive a little more on the earnings. I didn't get a chance to last night. So the jury's out on Meta, but at least you have some options there, right? Not the best. Zuckerberg really, really needs to give shareholders a bone that have gone through some pain. I don't know if they announced any kind of, okay, they're down 23%. I don't know if they announced any kind of buybacks, especially with this cash burn. So, since pandemic, March 11, 2020, they're down 44%. That's where we are on Meta. Apple, I don't see a lot of edge here, so I may not want to just get into this trade before earnings. I don't want to do that. If we take a look at Qs, I mean, a break of 280 would be nice. Then you could target 285s maybe for next week, but let's go ahead and get above 280 before we do any calls. And the only reason I'm saying calls is the fact that, again, I'm leaning bullish. I'm always long. I'm always an investor. You know me, guys. Hey, let's answer some questions. David's asking, hi, what do you think about Bed Bath and Beyond, BBBY? Again, for a trade, no problem owning it, no thanks. So again, if you just want to trade it, that's fine. Maybe if you want to get above $6 first, that would probably be your technical level to buy calls. If you break below 426, that's your most recent support. That's really all you can go by. You have to catch them rather quickly. If you break 6, there is a gap to fill here at 652. Maybe the 650 calls. I don't feel that confident in it. And no, I wouldn't want to own it. No, unless you're thinking that someone's going to buy it out. I don't think that's possible or going to happen anytime soon. Good morning. What are your thoughts on Amazon today? Earnings after hours. I would say the logistics side would be okay. But remember, guys, they just had 2 Prime days. So maybe they do need to raise some cash. Something, when you're trying to get rid of inventory, again, I expect Amazon sales to slow down. I think Amazon comes down and fills this gap. Well, it was a gap. It was filled. 106.53. Let's take a look at the daily. No real gaps. Technically speaking, there is kind of an inverse head and shoulders, so you can kind of say that on the daily. Yeah, kind of a inverse head and shoulders, sure. It's a red or black thing here. I wouldn't trade it. Nope, I would not trade Amazon here. No, I'd wait. And now I'm getting a ton of bots. Something about a chat room. I'm good. Thanks. But thank you for the question, Ronnie. There is no edge here. If you break 120, I guess that's a breakout, but I don't think we get there ahead of earnings. We can get there after earnings. So we're hitting some kind of short-term support here. Last time we got there was last week. That's when we got that little bit slight flush on the stock. 106.68. Again, you have 106 and 120. That's kind of what you're fighting here. You're right at 113, smack in the middle. Not a lot of edge, my man. So I wouldn't waste my capital on that. And I wouldn't want to buy the stock ahead of earnings either. Netflix, look at that, doing its thing. Well done. Hourly flags, Eilish, you're right. And we have a gap to fill at 330. So again, could we get there? Let's see if we get there. Again, as long as we stay above the 200 on the daily, I think that is still a long trade. Right at that round number of 300, 330 would be the next target. I wouldn't want to do it for this week. Maybe for next week, just depends on the premiums. Just keep an eye on that. But yeah, it's absolutely monstrous right now on Netflix. Only issue here is that you have a gap to the downside right at 250. Maybe we go and trade here, fill that gap, fill this gap, and maybe continue higher. So Netflix does provide some interesting journeys ahead of it. Let's take a look at NIO. I still own this stock. Yes, one of the very few Chinese exposure stocks I own. 1470, there's a gap to fill. There's another gap to fill at 1202. Nothing to the downside. So 12 would probably be a nice target for NIO. If we bring up the hourly, your resistance is right here at 1115. Break 1115, 1116. I would do the 12 calls. I just sold a credit put spread against Meta. Time to eat the spread. There you go. Spread that like toast, baby. Good stuff. And again, well done. Again, if you have, you could do it naked, obviously, but if you have shares, you could definitely start, writing some upside calls against them. You could write some downside puts. Just depends. Not here, but the 3-day rule. I think that's when you can start making decisions on that. So, but well done on that. Again, kind of the same macro sentiment. We've been kind of repeating the same thing for weeks now. Yields and dollar, yields and dollar. Now we're having earnings, some really ugly ones, some really good ones. McDonald's was great. Caterpillar was great. How about Upstart? That's up today as well on earnings. So again, kind of starting checking it off. Okay, bad earnings, check, yet this market is still up. So the market is starting to disconnect, starting to price in bad things and saying, okay, what else you got? Pretty resilient. That's interesting here. So, and Shop as well. Shop is up pre-market. I mean, hey, sometimes good news is good news. How about GDP beating? Bottom-ish could be. That's why I said I think we had a bottom. Again, the jury's still out. If we're looking at targets for the year, that's pretty much the question I had. I think I answered it yesterday on Investment Club. It's 4,200. That's that trend line here. 200 MA, which is 41.18 on ES. That's my first target, but 4,200 would be resistance. We could definitely roll over from there. Test factory at 4,000, 3,900, but we're not getting below 3,500 or 3,600 in my opinion. I think those moving averages hold and we should be okay. But again, for me to feel any kind of good about my bottom call, 41.18 is what I want to get. So let's not celebrate just yet. We haven't won complete victory, just a couple of nice victories. Have a great rest of your day, guys. I will catch you guys tomorrow for the morning note. Nice football game today, Ravens and Bucks. I don't know who the hell's going to win. Anything could happen. I'll just say Ravens to win. Have a great rest of your evening. I will see you guys tomorrow. Cheers.